When billionaire Richard Collins walked into his mansion's garden one evening, he never expected to find a homeless boy dancing on the lawn, but what shocked him most wasn't the boy's tattered clothes. It was the look of joy on his paralyzed daughter's face. Richard Collins had everything: money, power, and a sprawling estate overlooking Los Angeles. Yet for all his wealth, he carried a heartbreak that no amount of money could heal. His only daughter, Emily, had been paralyzed from the waist down after a tragic car accident 2 years ago. Once an energetic, bright 10-year-old who loved dancing, Emily now spent her days in a wheelchair, watching life pass by through the glass windows of her room. Richard had tried everything: specialists, experimental treatments, physical therapists flown in from across the world. But nothing brought Emily real happiness. She barely smiled, her laughter gone like a memory. One autumn evening, as Richard returned from a late board meeting, he heard something unusual from the garden: soft music playing from an old radio and the sound of sneakers scraping against stone. Curious, he walked toward the noise. There, under the garden lights, was a boy about 14 years old. His clothes were torn, his shoes had holes, but his body moved with incredible rhythm. He spun, flipped, and danced with such passion that the air itself seemed to vibrate. But what froze Richard in place wasn't the boy's dancing. It was Emily's laughter. For the first time in years, she was clapping, smiling, her eyes glowing as she watched from her wheelchair. Richard's heart cracked open. "Who are you?" Richard asked. The boy froze mid-move, terrified. I'm Michael. I didn't mean to trespass, sir. I wanted to dance where the lights were bright. I'm sorry." Richard noticed the boy's eyes, tired but filled with resilience. His ribs showed through his shirt. This boy was homeless, hungry, and yet carried joy in his movements. Before Richard could speak, Emily interrupted. "Daddy, please don't make him leave. He's my friend." Those words pierced deeper than any business deal ever had. Over the next days, Richard learned Michael's story. His parents had died when he was young, and he'd bounced between foster homes before ending up on the streets. But he never let go of his dream. He wanted to become a dancer. Every night he practiced wherever he could: subway stations, parking, lots, and now, accidentally, the billionaire's mansion garden. Emily begged Richard, "Can Michael stay? He makes me happy." Richard hesitated. He had built his empire by trusting no one. But when he looked at Emily's smiling face, he knew the answer. Michael was given a room, clothes, and food. For the first time in years, laughter filled the Collins household. But this wasn't charity. This was the beginning of something bigger. Michael started teaching Emily to move again, not to walk, but to dance with her upper body. Music returned to her life. Her arms flowed to rhythm, her face lit up with joy, and slowly her confidence grew. One evening, Richard found himself standing in the doorway of Emily's room, watching as Michael spun in perfect rhythm, while Emily mirrored him from her wheelchair. The billionaire felt something he hadn't felt in years: hope. And then came the turning point. Richard decided to use his wealth not just for Emily, but for Michael too. He hired professional dance trainers, gave Michael a scholarship, and even opened a foundation, Dance Beyond Limits, a program for underprivileged kids and children with disabilities to experience the joy of movement. Months passed. Emily regained strength in her arms and spirit. Michael blossomed into a dancer who stunned every teacher who met him. Videos of him teaching Emily went viral, capturing millions of hearts online. One day, Emily whispered to her father, "Daddy, I thought my life was over. But Michael showed me that even if I can't walk, I can still fly." Tears welled up in Richard's eyes. All the billions in his bank account had never bought him this kind of truth. Years later, Michael stood on stage at a national dance competition. The audience roared as he dedicated his performance to Emily. the girl in the front row who once thought she'd never smile again. Richard watched proudly, knowing that fate had given him two gifts: a daughter's laughter restored and a boy's dream fulfilled.